talked about Sanker. I mentioned Kool-Aid McKinstry, but person who's been there, and this is now, will this be his fourth? This will be his fourth year.
Contract year for Alontae Taylor.
Alontae Taylor. How is he going to be used, man? What is the best way for him to be used? If you ask somebody, just outside, they'll say, oh, well, you should try him at safety. Those are things that have been thrown around. I don't know if that's going to be the case now. It's kind of, is he going to go inside or outside? Because he's number one now. He is the number one person in the building now.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I think the Saints had their eye on drafting a cornerback high. I know they did.
Yeah.
And if they had drafted a cornerback instead of Tyler Shuck at 40, then we'd be thinking, all right, Kool-Aid and the new corner are going to be on the outside. Alontae Taylor, all you got left is inside. But because they didn't do that, I think Alontae gets a chance to be one of the two starters on the outside. And we've had this long discussion with him. At first he couldn't get on the field on the outside. Paulson Adebo won that job, and they moved him to nickel, which is an unfamiliar position. And we had said for a long time, boy, I think Alontae fits best outside. And when they traded Marshawn Lattimore, it was, all right, here's his chance to prove he fits best outside. And then we watched him outside, and we're like, he might be better inside. Like, once you embrace that position, he played well at it. Well, Alontae Taylor goes on WWL radio, and he said that the vision for him in this defense is what Jalen Ramsey did for the Rams in 2020. And if you hear that, you're like, oh, so you just picked the best cornerback in the NFL and you said, I'm going to play like him. But Jalen Ramsey for the Rams in 2020 was playing for Brandon Staley. And so I have a feeling that is a specific conversation that he had with Brandon Staley about this is the vision for him. And what that vision is, and I think this makes the most sense for Alontae Taylor, is that he remains the nickel corner, because I think he's the best one on this team, starts on the outside when there's only two guys, and then when they go to nickel, Alontae moves inside, and then someone like Isaac Yiadom or Quincy Riley, if he's ready, moves to the outside, and Alontae moves to the inside. Now, reading about Jalen Ramsey, they called it the star position. You've heard that term, but what the star position meant for him, he was sometimes lined up as an edge rusher, sometimes lined up as a linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a big nickel. He's 6'1". Alontae Taylor is 6'1". So Jalen Ramsey is a very, very high target to set. But, look, we've seen all the great things Alontae can do, and he just needs consistency. But if that's a vision for him, I'm excited to see it play out.
And then we know Alontae isn't scared to go in there and wreck shop. We saw it in the beginning of last season, how he was flying in. At one point, he might have been tied or leading the team in sacks, just from, his explosive ability. So I definitely think he can fit that role as a kind of not even really game record, but like as a wrecking ball to do what he needs to do if he has to come down in the box or if he has to go back. But just kind of figuring out, you talked about Quincy Riley. Where do you think he'll fit in this year? Do you think he earns his stripes early?
Early is tough to predict. I mean, I like that pick a lot. And I don't think we have to judge him by where he was drafted in the fourth round. Like, he could have just as easily been a third round pick. He could play inside. He could play outside. But I think when we see him line up at first, I think it'll be him sort of competing with Isaac Yiadom for that third role. It'll be interesting. Is Alontae Taylor full-time outside, or is he a guy that moves to the nickel and then they have to, that makes the most sense to me, rather than having Yiadom or Riley coming at nickel. But I think all those things are on the table as we head into the summer.
Yeah, wow. It's just crazy how much can change in 1 year. A year ago, we were talking about the competition coming up in camp between Kool-Aid and Alontae. Now, Alontae is top dog, and everybody else has to figure it out, with Lattimore leaving and Paulson Adebo leaving. It's just things can change fast. We're going to take
obviously a huge year for Alontae Taylor, though. I mean, if they're going to change his role for the third time in 4 years, and it's a contract year for him, and he has to prove that he should get that second contract and that they shouldn't be drafting another one high next year.
Yeah, for sure.